Over 31 ballot boxes from states, union territories and the parliament will be counted. NDA presidential candidate Droupadi Murmu is likely to sweep the polls with over 60% of the votes, perhaps bettering the vote polled by her predecessor and current President Ramnath Kovind. Now, Droupadi Murmu, the potential president, will have many firsts to her name. The first tribal president that the country will see, the first to be born after independence, and the first president from the state of Odisha. Competing with her is opposition's candidate Yashwant Sinha, an old BJP hand for over 2.5 decades. All eyes now on room 63 of the Parliamentary House, where the counting will began earlier in the day at about 11 a.m.
सिंपल बैकग्राउंड से बहुत ऊपर उठ सके, महिला है, ट्राइबल है, बहुत पर्सनल ट्रेजेडीज भी हैं. आप कैसे देखते हैं उससे?
नहीं, वो तो पहले से ही बहुत सिंपल है और सिंपल का चलते और उसका कॉन्फिडेंस भी बहुत ये ज़्यादा भी है. उसी चलते वो अभी इतना दूर तो जा रहा, मतलब अभी तो राष्ट्रपति बनने वाला है. और जो पहले भी था उसी टाइम कोई भी आए तो यहाँ मिलते जुलते था आदमी का साथ, सब आदमी का मतलब दुख सुख सब कुछ समझते थे. कोई भी आए, कहीं से भी आए, उसका बात को समझते थे. लेकिन सब आदमी द्रौपदी करके ही बुलाते हैं.
We are in Rairangpur in the Mayurbhanj district of Odisha, and this is the place from where Droupadi Murmu actually started her political career as a councillor. If my camera person Guneet Singh can show you, the town is actually full of anticipation of a victory on the 21st. Laddus have been prepared, and numberless of them actually have already been prepared, and people are ready to dish them out the moment the results come in. Not just that, mobile loudspeakers have been on the roads through the evening, essentially asking people to come and join in the victory procession once Murmu's results actually come in, or once the presidential polls results actually come in. द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी के बारे में थोड़ा सा बता दीजिए.
द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी मैडम, रायरंगपुर के लोग जिन्हें दीदी के नाम से पुकारते हैं, ये जीत सिर्फ दीदी की नहीं, ये पूरे रायरंगपुर की जीत. हमें ऐसा फील हो रहा है, और जैसे दिवाली के समय मिठाइयाँ बनती हैं उस तरीके से मिठाई बन रही है. हमें इतनी खुशी महसूस हो रही है कि मतलब ये शब्द में मैं आपको बोल नहीं पा रहा हूँ.
द्रौपदी दीदी बहुत डाउन टू अर्थ है. जो भी उन प्रॉब्लम लेकर उनके पास जाने से वो हर प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करती हैं. और आप कितने सालों पहले भी अगर उनसे मिले और बहुत दिन बाद वापस जाके मिलेंगे तो आपको रिकॉग्नाइज जरूर करेंगे.
Let me also now bring in my colleagues. Akash Sharma is joining us from Droupadi Murmu's residence here in the national capital. My colleague and senior editor Pallavi Ghosh also joining us on the broadcast. Pallavi, let me come to you first. As we said, India is all set to get its first tribal president. Many first as far as Droupadi Murmu is concerned. But first, if you could just break down this entire ballot process of how it actually takes place.
So as we all know, the state legislatures also vote, and of course the MPs vote, and the state legislatures have the right to, also allow their respective MPs to come and vote, and that's exactly what the Trinamool Congress did. And then the day the voting was over, after that on flights we had huge security arrangements, and all those ballot boxes were brought here. And inside Parliament, that's in room number 63, which is on the first floor of the Parliament. In the strong room, all the ballot boxes have been kept. They were opened at around 11 a.m. this morning, and then it is actually those ballot papers, so it's counting by hand, and that began around 11:15 is what we have been told. So even as we speak, that counting is going on. They arrange it alphabetically, state-wise, and that's how the counting takes place. By around 4 to 5 is what we are told that we can expect some kind of official announcement of the figures. Look, in terms of numbers, if you're going to ask me, Ridhima, there's no doubt about the fact that they are stacked heavily in favor of Droupadi Murmu. Not just the entire NDA, but some surprises there in parties which supported her, like the Shiv Sena. Then, of course, there's the JMM. But I think what is going to be more important, when we are going to get a breakdown of the percentage of states, whether they actually has been split in votes of even those parties which supported Yashwant Sinha. So the margin of victory of Droupadi Murmu gross voting, I think that's where the story lies.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Pallavi, and I'll come back to you on that in just a bit. But let's take in a word from Akash also. Akash, considering the fact you're joining us from outside Draupadi Murmu's residence in the national capital, any sort of activity that you're seeing?
So, Ridhima, this is an important day, a day when we are going to get our 15th president. And at this point in time, I'm standing outside the Draupadi Murmu's residence. And let me show you the preparations first. If I can ask my camera person to show you the canopies and all the stage-like structures inside. You can see that the preparations are underway, and we are learning that some senior leaders would be coming here after 2:30 at this point in time. Also, let me tell you that while it is about BJP Karyakartas, so they are excited because they are somewhere very much sure that Draupadi Murmu is going to win. And in some time from now, we'll get some sort of clarity. But at this point in time, if I can show you the visuals, just a few minutes back, NDMC workers were here and they started the beautification work and all the patch filling works. And that's the reason why, we are showing you the visuals of this beautification work that is being done by NDMC at this point in time. And also we are learning that by 2:30, Prime Minister Modi will be visiting this particular place. So at this point in time, officers are working for the security, and on the other hand, Karyakartas are working for the celebrations. And everyone is excited because they are somewhere sure that Draupadi Murmu is going to win and she'll be the 15th president of India.
Right. Akash, just stay on with us. Let me quickly go back to Pallavi also. Pallavi, I agree with the fact that numbers were already in favor of the NDA's candidate. So what will be interesting to see, one will be whether Draupadi Murmu actually betters the percentage from what Ramnath Kovind had. But even as far as the opposition is concerned, and you were rightly pointing out that you had a lot of surprise voters because, you wanted to be on the right side of history when India gets its first tribal president. But as far as the opposition is concerned, considering the fact that we saw one party after another supporting Draupadi Murmu, the larger question is, was this also a missed opportunity for the opposition? Should they have put a better candidate?
I'm just going to go by Mamata Banerjee's statement when the government announced a name, or the BJP announced a name of Draupadi Murmu. And she said, if they had discussed this earlier,
Correct.
maybe something could have been done. I think that best captures the dilemma of the opposition space. Not just a woman factor, and women voters do matter. I mean, if you look at state election results of late, whether it's been Bihar, whether it's been Uttar Pradesh recently, the woman factor does matter. The number of voters of women are increasing, and they often make or break governments. And Mamata Banerjee, for example, does know that. After all, her USP is the fact that she's the lone woman chief minister in her country. And also in Bengal election, she used that card effectively. But, so that's, I think, captures a dilemma within the opposition parties. And also the fact that Draupadi Murmu, not just a woman, she's also a tribal. State after state, you look at Gujarat, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, parts of Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, all of them have a substantial tribal population, and of course Northeast. Now that is where the problem, for example, is, I'm going to talk about TMC repeatedly, because if they want to move towards Northeast, the tribal vote bank matters, and therefore this is going to come back to haunt them. But if you have decided on Yashwant Sinha and the Congress plus AAP plus the TMC decide to back him till the end, there's not much that they could have done. And I think you're right, Ridhima, when you move towards 2024, this is certainly going to be a narrative which the BJP is going to hit out at them, which is why I explained like a Shiv Sena or even a JMM decide to break ranks and support the BJP at least on this name.
Pallavi, I'll just request you stay on with us. We're also now getting some very colourful visuals. They are coming in from Rairangpur, Odisha, which, remember, is the native or the hometown of Draupadi Murmu. My colleague Rupashri actually has been tracking all these developments for us from that native town. Rupashri, we're already staying with those very colourful visuals, some dance performances that we're seeing. You've been there speaking to people. What is the mood on the ground? Okay, we'll try and restart.